into Zoom the right way. Thank you all for attending the second Transparency Advisory Group meeting. I wanted to start by going around and making introductions so we could do a roll call. We'll start with the Knoxville location. I'm Tiffany Carpenter, and I oversee communications and marketing for the UT system.
Okay, I'm Caitlin Flippo. I'm just job shadowing today.
Doing a great job at that.
Oh, thank you.
Lynette Edwards, the Institute of Agriculture, and a professor representative.
I'm Harry Brooks, a retired legislator.
Victor Ash, citizen.
David Mash, I'm provost of the Knoxville campus.
Dennis Sengster, associate vice president and director of institutional research.
Melissa Tyndall, director of communications, UT system.
John North, I work as a journalist at Channel 10.
Okay, how about IPS?
I'm Scott Gordy. I'm with the Institute for Public Service.
Nashville?
Carrie Whitworth, Assistant Vice President of Government Relations.
Chattanooga?
Terry Denniston, Chief of Staff.
And Rachel Smith, student at UTC.
Great, thank you. Martin?
Edie Gibson, UT Martin.
Great. Anyone else on the phone?
Yes.
Matthew Scoggins, General Counsel.
Okay.
And we have Alexis Hurley, a project coordinator in our office at UTC.
Okay, great.
And Sally Badu, Assistant Vice Chancellor for the Health Science Center.
Oh, sorry, Sally, you've written off the roster on the side there. I'm sorry about that. Thank you. Great. Okay, well, thank you all for being here today. We thought we might start with a quick overview of some of the things that we've accomplished since our last meeting. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting, but we have developed several conversations about things we'd like to see added to the website, and I'm happy to report that all but one piece of that has actually already been added to the site. So since we last met, we've added athletic department budgets, campus crime stats and safety policies, campus and system capital plans, campus maps, links to campus magazines and news feeds, which includes video and photo labs for those that already have it, but some of our other locations like ourselves are going to start adding that to those links, so we'll have those shortly. Links to social media accounts, and links to the UT Foundation budget information and annual reports. The one thing we discussed last time we have not had an opportunity to add yet, which will be coming when we do dashboards, is international student numbers and tuition information. I also wanted to give a quick update on another thing we discussed last time, the campus advisory board groups. In the last meeting, it was asked if those meetings could possibly be live streamed or archived on the website. Since that meeting, all of the campuses are currently investigating that. Knoxville campus is already live streaming and archiving. The Martin campus, Edie, what is the Martin campus doing with your advisory board? Do you all have plans to archive or live stream your campus advisory board meetings?
We have actually archived the last one. Our next one will be next week, and we're still exploring the technology to be able to do both. Right now we can archive, but we're having a little trouble with the live stream.
Great, thank you. Chattanooga, Terry, do you want me to give that update, or would you like to? I spoke with Gina, so I have one if you'd like me to give it.
Okay, you can give it, and if I have anything to add, I will.
So at the moment, Chattanooga is not live streaming or archiving, but they will continue to look into that.
I will say I thought we were archiving.
Okay,
I'll double check.
Okay, that'd be great. Health Science Center. Sally, do you know what the Health Science Center is doing with your campus advisory board meetings?
I reached out to our administration earlier this week on Monday and didn't hear back. I just talked to the chancellor this morning, and he said that he hasn't had a chance to talk to the advisory board chair just yet. So we're still in process of figuring that out.
Okay, great. Thank you all. And then I wanted to ask Matthew Scoggins to give an update because we also had some movement on some of the Board of Trustee discussions that we had in the last meeting. So Matthew, would you mind updating us on the Board of Trustee items?
Sure. On March 1st at the board meeting in Morton, the board approved some revisions to the standing rule governing requests to address the board. And just highlight a couple of those. They extended the time for people to speak from 30 minutes to 60 minutes. And the chair of the committee or the chair of the board has the ability to allocate that time however it's best based on the topics that people wish to speak about. And the committee chair and the chair of the board also have the discretion to extend the time beyond 60 minutes in appropriate cases. And the board reduced the amount of time that someone's required to register before the board meeting from 5 days to 3 days. And those are the highlights of that.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments or concerns
What
about
did
that?
they do with the provision that says there are only 3 or 4 people on one side of the question?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I'm having trouble picking that up on this end of the line.
Would you like to-
What was done with the provision I don't have in front of me that's limited 3 or 4 people to one point of view on an issue?
It says no more than 6 speakers will be scheduled to speak on the same subject. And so if for some reason there's a inequity in the number of people on one side or the other and other people are there and they want to speak on the other side, we added a provision again that would allow the chair of the committee to allow those other people to speak.
And if the chair, for whatever reason, didn't do that, how do you decide which of the 6 people, the first ones to show up? First one's
to register. First one's to register.
So you could game it by 6 people registering on one side and no one would get to speak on the other side.
Well, and again, if the chair, I guess we hope that we have reasonable chairs, and so they could certainly remedy that situation in the meeting.
I guess my question is, why don't you just remedy it and changing the rules? Not even, why should the chair be put in that position?
And I'm not, Victor, I'm not understanding your question. You think the rules should be what? We don't have a pre-registration requirement, or?
Well, if you had 6 people sign up, the first 6 signed up and they were all against it, 2 people signed up after 6 and the chair, for whatever reason, wouldn't hear it. It seems to me that you're locking yourself out. Why wouldn't you just let people speak? Why even put the chair in the position of having to decide that?
And so let people speak for an unlimited amount of time?
No, you know, there's some issues where you're going to have, like Lady Ball issues that are still around. You'd have 90 people on one side of the issue, 10% on the other, but the 90% would want to speak. I can assure you that.
Well, but we're talking about the default rule, and the default rule is 60 minutes and first come, first serve. And so if there's in a situation like the Lady Vols that it needs to be changed, we added a provision that allows the chair to change it. So if you've got a suggestion on what the default rule should be changed to, then we'll be happy to take that to the chair of the board and see what he thinks about it.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
For clarification, Counselor, is it 6 folks per side and you would have an allotment for other people on the other side? Is that the process of the new rule?
It says 6 per subject.
Oh, 6 per subject. Then it ought to be changed to 6 per side.
Well, and so a lot of times, for instance, we use the Lady Vols. There's only one side that wants to talk. So we've never run into an instance, correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew, but we've never run into an instance, one, where we've had more people sign up than we have time or space for. So that's actually never been an issue. I think that's something we'd have to take on a case-by-case basis. Do you agree with that, Matthew?
Right. So we'll continue to work on it. You know, we're not saying it's perfect, but it's better than it was the last time the committee met.
You know, I'll just throw out for discussion. You know, for 16 years, I presided over city council every 2 weeks. And anybody could come And sometimes when we had the Stinson issue, when African American or 3 died in police custody, so the public forum went forward. But it was a major racial issue. The community needed to vent itself. That was part of the healing process, just to be honest about it. And I'm just saying, as opposed to saying 60 minutes, I just think you're better. First of all, it's going to be rare you ever even get to 40 minutes. And I'm speaking philosophically, I wouldn't even put in the time limit. Because if it's 60 minutes, which issues get heard? I mean, there might be people there on 5 issues that go to an hour and a half. So when you reach 60 minutes, you cut it off, or the chair in his wisdom says, we'll let you go.
You know,
off.
again, we added an exception for extraordinary circumstances, and I guess we could have another philosophical discussion about whether the city council is the same as the board of trustees, elected officials versus appointed officials, but I don't think that'd be a good use of our time.
Okay. Well, I'm just voicing my views.
Just to be clear, we're going from 5 days notification, did I hear 3?
To 3 days. And well, so that is, we actually notify that the board is meeting 7 days in advance minimum, or send out that public notice. But it used to be you had to submit that you wanted to speak 5 days before, and we've lowered that to 3.
But it's essential that the agenda be posted.
We are
4 or 5
posting that
days.
7 days as well.
Okay.
Yes. So the
Yeah, I mean, and just to give some perspective, that the other university boards, University of Memphis does not allow public comment at all, nor does Austin P or ETSU. Tennessee Tech and TSU require 15 days notice. MTSU requires 7 days notice. So I feel like we're on the right path. Again, the rule's not perfect, but I feel like we're really on a good trajectory with respect to this rule.
Well, what you said, you're referring to institutions that have set an incredibly low bar in terms of transparency. I mean, the Board of Regents, I understand, you have to sign up 3 weeks in advance. You couldn't possibly know what's on the agenda. They don't publish it 3 weeks in advance. I mean, you know, the legislature is going to change that at some point. And UT's to be commended for being far better than those. But I just consider it deplorable to require a 15-day notice to speak before a board. Why not just say you can't speak? You'd be better off. I mean, you know, it's a public board. This is not.
Well, so the University of Tennessee publishes 7 days in advance, and that gives you 4 days before the deadline to speak. So we'll continue to evaluate that, but hopefully that will be a good open.
I mean, just keep in
time
mind,
period.
public bodies such as county commissions and city councils all across Tennessee have no time limit. You can walk into the meeting and sign up.
I think Matthew made a good point, though, that those are elected officials rather than appointed, but that's something I think we can continue to examine and just sort of see how it
People
runs.
appointed by the governor,
We need
confirmed by the legislature.
But the chairs of those entities also have discretion to limit debate. I mean, in a public hearing, for example, in front of the legislature, the chair of a committee, there's not just an unlimited amount of time that witnesses can come in and present their case. And so I actually see a lot of similarity to our rule where a chair, there are 6 guaranteed, spots, and a chair then has discretion to extend or not extend. That's just my only comment on that.
We'll continue to evaluate that one, and if we see a need to have further conversation on that, we find that we're having more people sign up than we had time for, or issues where people feel like they don't have enough time, we can continue to bring that back to this committee, I think.
I think that's key because it sounds like we're not really running into that issue.
We haven't had anything close to that yet, but we do need to have some flexibility should something like that.
Well, I think the main thing here is, if you limit yourself to 6, make sure people on the other side I mean, they shouldn't be shut out because the 6 people knew the system better and gamed it. And don't think someone who knows the system. It's like filing a lawsuit in Chancery Court in Knox County. If you want a certain judge, you know when the other 2 have been selected, you're standing there and you file your papers. We didn't. it
Somebody on
happens.
the phone had a question. Did you have a question, Terry?
Yes, Matthew, does this apply to the advisory boards as well?
No, the advisory boards, if they want to allow public comment, would need to adopt their own rule.
Okay, thank you.
I would love to just come back to the campus advisory boards piece, Tiffany, if it's an appropriate time. I want to revisit that, I guess, before we move on to another agenda item.
Go ahead and talk about that now, because I think we're getting ready to move to outstanding item.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know within our charge as a committee if it's appropriate to make any sort of formal recommendations, but I would love to see us consider that, continue to push on that. I mean, in my mind, campus advisory boards are made up of appointed officials by the General Assembly. They are confirmed by the government, and I think there's going to be interest in the work that they do. And so, I know that we're capable of streaming. There may be some cost involved there that we have to look at, but I would just continue to kind of beat that drum as the transparency advisory group.
So let me pose this question to the group, because I do know some of the campuses have issues with live streaming and the cost prohibitiveness or the ability to do it. When we do a board of trustees meeting, it's actually Jack Holden and his crew come in and set up in advance. How do you all feel about if we did something like this, where it's done by Zoom, but then it's archived and that's posted to the website? So that way the public can still go back, see the discussion items, see what was talked about, but it's not an additional cost for maybe a Martin who doesn't have the same capabilities as the Knoxville campus.
I mean, I think that's a compromise, right? That deals with the cost side of the equation. I think the important thing is being able to have the archive of what happened at these meetings. And sometimes in this day and age, we want more than just meeting minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree
Any
with
other
that.
thought on that?
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly, whether we do Zoom or Skype or whatever, but having the public have an opportunity to go back and look at it and to really engage in what happened at those advisory board meetings, that's key. And so whatever we can do to support that, I think we should certainly suggest that, as a transparency advisory group, I think that makes sense for us.
Okay.
They're all open
That's
to the
great.
public, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
They are.
They're open to the public.
They are open to the
And they're
public.
announced.
It's just the cost and the ability sometimes for like Martin to have live streaming is a little bit more, they're not as wired as the Knoxville campus for that. So if we could do it this way, where you do a Zoom and you archive it and put it on the website, that would be a lot more accessible for them and make their options easier for where they could have the meetings and host the meetings. So I think that would give them the ability for people to feel like they could go back and see what happened without having to incur an additional cost. Okay, so what I will do with that one then is maybe have President Boyd discuss that at his next chancellor's meeting to see, to make sure there's no pushback on that. But I think it sounds like most of the campuses are pretty open to that already. Martin's already working towards that. Chattanooga's working towards that. So we'll push forward on that and I'll report back. Okay, the next item on the agenda was to talk about outstanding items. There are a few things that we are still trying to get. Has everyone had a chance to review the website since the last meeting? We've made a few enhancements. We've added all of the information that we talked about just a few minutes ago, but we've also created a news section called Latest News. And we're thinking that can be used for when we have big announcements or issues that are ongoing that people have a lot of interest in. So for instance, we used it to announce the economic impact information, but we also included a spreadsheet so that you can see where all the numbers came from and how we came to that economic impact. We also used it for the state comptroller's report on Sex Week as a host for all of the information that was being disseminated regarding Sex Week, the comptroller's report, anything that we felt like would be of interest regarding Sex Week over the past. Do you all feel like there's other things you can do in that area in terms of latest news that would be beneficial? I just took us off topic, but.
I don't know if there are any legislative actions that are relevant to the system. That would be of interest. probably that the system's interested in. perhaps.
Okay.
Maybe the sports authority bill
Yeah.
as an
Okay.
example.
That's a big deal.
That's what we're talking about. That's a good idea.
That's a great idea.
What about, this will go somewhere, I'm confident, funding for the Agricultural Institute building that's planned. I think the governor proposed money for that.
Right. I think that's on the Capitol site. That's already up there. And we've got each campus and institute up there. I'll double check and make sure that's up there. I actually didn't mean to get us on that topic just yet. That was for other, but as we walk through this, if you think of other things, we'll come back to that in a minute. In terms of outstanding items, we are currently pulling together all executive contracts from throughout the system, and those will be up in April.
Good, that's helpful.
We are also working on a salary database, and if you all would like to see a sneak peek of what that's going to look like, I'm going to pull it up on the website really fast. If I don't accidentally disconnect.
Yeah.
So we have been working with Jay Eccles in our business intelligence office. He has been building a website that will have a searchable salary database, very similar to the information that we currently provide to Gannett every year. And hold on. I can't type in top of this page. That works. It's a bad typo. So this is the development page.
Hey, don't forget to share your screen with us.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I say thank you, but I don't know how to do that. Maybe with Angie. Let's see.
Cool.
There we go. How's that?
Excellent. Thank you.
Scott's never silent. Sorry, Scott. Okay, so once this is up and running, the site, you will be able to filter by campus or institute, or you can look at all. You can search by employee name. So you can go in, oops, hold on. You can go in by this little magnifying glass and type in a name. I'm not gonna type anyone in because I don't want to call anyone out. You can also look by job title or by department. Currently, the way you're looking at it would be if you're looking at all system employees. So it will also give you a snapshot of how many employees are in that unit. So for the system, there are 12,544 permanent employees. We did not include temporary employees, which would be like ushers, student workers, folks in the temple. But if you're, for instance, just wanting to see at Chattanooga, you're doing a search for Chattanooga, it will tell you that they have 1,328. So you can get a quick little snapshot too of what their employee base would look like. This information is still in development. We have got a contract out for Power BI. And once we have that taken care of, it might be another 2 months before we're able to embed this into the website. But then this will live on the transparency site, and we will update it on October 1st every year because that's when the new July 1 salary file is updated, and that's when we provide it to media. You can also, I almost forgot this email function. You can also download this information. Where did it go? So You can export it as a CSV document, so you can do the entire system. You can do just a campus or an institute, and you can also sort as you do that. So in the future, when we have media requests for our salary database, we'll actually update it here and send them here, and they can download whatever they need. Any thoughts or questions on the salary database?
Tiffany, one of the things that we sort of talked about in a different conversation, but are there opportunities to put comparators there so that others can see how well we compare to our peers and things like that? I think that might help put that information in a context that, you know, for a subset of individuals saying, oh, well, these people are overpaid or whatever, well, relative to our peers and everything, how are we doing in that respect?
I think that's a great idea, and that's sort of a value add when we think about what people are looking for. One of the things we can add when we add the salary database is also that salary survey information that shows how we compare to our peers and for aspirationals. So we can add that information once we add the salary survey. We can just create its own little section, and then folks can see how we compare.
It could also be put on the dashboard.
Absolutely.
Because again, trying to tie that to an individual is difficult. There are comparisons. You can do it in groups and job families and things like that. But because we already have faculty salary peer comparison data, but trying to do that, you know, and do we do it by department? Do we do it by discipline? Those types of issues. So probably a dashboard might be better than, but you can link the two together so it'd be available.
Absolutely, that would be fantastic.
Interesting idea, I know.
Yeah.
Tiffany,
Yes.
this is Terry. In faculty salaries, how is that listed? Is it their base salary, or what about faculty that have
It is base salary only.
base salary only?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So for
Well,
example,
I mean, this would include more than faculty salaries, though.
Right.
It includes staff salaries.
Absolutely.
And so those types of comparisons, if we're going to do faculty comparisons, we might want to also do staff comparisons, different peer group, of course. And so that might need some explaining, but I think it'd be still of value too. So
I think the salary survey information that HR's been working on for the board, or
That's
trustees,
correct.
which will talk faculty and then is working on staff too, might be a good,
right, that could work.
that might be a good file to put up. Anything else you'd like to see as we talk about salaries on the website, or any other thoughts?
this doesn't have, with these positions, the amount of time they've been an employee, does it?
It does not. This is just pulled from our payroll office. Okay, and the data you see right now is from July 1. Our thought was we will update it after the July 1 salary adjustments for raises, and just update it once a year, October 1st, every single year.
Tiffany, did you say October the 1st is also the date that you make this available to media, or is that earlier?
That's typically when the file is complete and ready. If it's ready sooner, we could actually pick a September 1 or whatever date. But typically, the way that's worked in the past, the board approves the percentage of raise in late June. And then it doesn't end up showing up into your paycheck until August or September. And so by October 1 is when all the bugs are fixed. So October 1 was a good, safe time to put the salary file up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll tell you, our request from the Sentinel, at least in my experience here, usually comes in around January requesting the salary information. So I think they're more prone on a calendar year.
Right. So we'll have this ready for them before they ask. And you can download it. Okay, do you want to talk Dash, or did you have something on this?
When you talk about employees,
Right.
The official number is based on November 1st, end of October 1st of November. So there may be some disparity between what we're reporting here in terms of official numbers. Like,
Do you think we should do November 1?
I would.
Okay, we can do that.
We could
That's
tie
easy.
it. We could tie it to the official head count on employees.
Fantastic. Anything else on this before we move on to dashboard update?
Yeah, this is Scott real quick. And I'm all in in favor of, updating it once a year, but would there be any value to updating it a little more frequently if that doesn't cause any, problems with anyone? Because right now, and even though it is good for us to do this, where's the value add beyond what folks can get elsewhere? Does that make sense?
It does.
It's going to create a problem on the infrastructure behind the scenes, which data file you're using.
Right.
And what's in the consolidated data repository.
Right. And that's where we're looking.
Okay, that's fair enough. It just sounds like to me it's just not feasible to do that then.
So we can always pull that report for an individual request, but this would at least give, this information would be accurate, like 90, I'm gonna say like 90, in the 90 percentile. In the 90 percentile range, this would still be accurate for that year.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
You can always pull individual reports for anyone who requests them to.
Right. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Dennis, would you like to give an update on the dashboards?
We're still shooting for a presentation to the Board of Trustees meeting at the June meeting, primarily focusing on student data and student outcomes. There have been a series of data integrity issues that we're trying to address and other projects that we're working on, which has somewhat delayed the project. But we're just trying to get something to the board at their June board meeting. So again, if you have any ideas, any suggestions on what that dashboard should look like, please let me know. So we do have a committee working on this, and so we have lots of ideas. But if you have any other ideas, be glad to entertain those and incorporate them into the dashboard.
So these will have demographic data. It'll have kind of that campus snapshot data, right? So demographics and all of that. So
student and faculty.
That's we're good on that front. Okay.
Any questions about the dashboards? I feel like I'm moving along too fast.
Dennis, kind of how specific can that get? Can that get like county by county? If you're talking about students from Tennessee, or
we could. I mean, I think the goal is to have some more mapping capability.
Really granular stuff.
Drill down capability. So that's what we're trying to build behind the scenes, so that when you go to the dashboard, it'll be more interactive. We can have the map, pick on a particular county and see not only UT presence, what is UT presence in that county that we currently have and are working on, but also if you want to know how many students from that county, how many employees, things like that, the capability will be there.
We don't have that right now.
We have an underlying data, we just don't have it on the dashboard.
Okay. That's really fascinating information, I think.
Right. And as granular as you can get would be helpful. So to see how many students in this area, if I click on a certain county, if there are any resources in terms of scholarship dollars, right? So if we can get to that level, that would be helpful to know, so that if I want to know what our impact is in a certain county, I can click on that and see all of that, as much info as you can get.
As we can get, as long as we're following the FERPA guidelines and federal guidelines in terms of privacy.
Right.
That's very important to point out, because if you get too granular, you can start identifying students, and we have to be very careful about that.
With the president's announcement, which is huge, enormous in Tennessee, about free public education for UT students, is that something that would be incorporated somehow, the beneficiaries of that, into this database? Who will be taking advantage of it from a numerical point of view?
From a numerical point of view, we might be able to, it depends on, again, if it's identifying students, we can't.
Sure.
It's not
We
too
can show
granular.
how many are getting group scholarships.
Right.
And
that's part of the
how many are
qualification.
Pell, how many are Pell eligible. So your basic standard information we can incorporate into the dashboard. Getting specific, we'd have to expand our database, particularly the financial aid database. We will be collecting financial aid data from the campuses beginning fall of 2019. So past we were not able to, going forward, we would be able to.
That'll be valuable to the university itself, obviously.
Exactly.
Dennis, Dennis, this is Terry in Chattanooga. Will this information on the dashboard mirror the information that we have on our website under our fact book, where we have students by counties, all of that information?
Right, that we are trying to work with all of the institutional research offices to make sure that our data that we publish mirror and is consistent with what is publishing on the campuses. There are some data definition issues that we've identified and how campuses may report, and so we need to work through those. Like the salary survey, we're going to get probably 95% matching. There may be a few that we'll need to work on. And that's going to require some standardization there, because Chattanooga may want to report it one way and Martin or Knoxville a different way. So we have to come up with some standardization across the system when we get to those points.
And also with the timing of when we put up our data and when the dashboard data will go up.
Right.
Okay.
There could be some timing issues as well.
Right. Thank you.
So the next thing on our agenda, we may have already missed our window here. Matthew had to jump off at 2:45 for another meeting. Matthew, are you still on the call?
I am, but I'm about to have to jump off, so I can introduce it and leave you all to talk about it.
Do you need to jump off and want me to present this?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm sorry.
Not a problem. Thank you, Matthew.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day. So on page 4 of one of the things we talked about last time also was reviewing copy charges for public record information. Matthew has taken a look at that policy and has provided us with a recommendation that I wanted you all to sort of react to, and let's discuss if we feel like this would be an option for us. Basically, it would allow people to come in with their cell phone and take a picture of a public record rather than having to make a photocopy. And then you would not have to pay for copy charges if you took a picture of the phone. You would still incur labor charges because those can be quite labor intensive and time intensive. Any thoughts on that from the committee?
That's a good start. Obviously, it only becomes an issue for somebody if the labor costs are huge.
Right. And those are estimated in advance too.
Now it becomes an issue, what, John?
If labor is really expensive, if you're making a deep request, we made a request earlier this year for emails where there was, was a significant labor issue.
Right. Did you all end up?
We got what we needed. We were satisfied with what we got, and we weren't, we were not objecting to the labor costs involved.
Okay.
The copy costs were not really prohibitive, to be honest with you. I reviewed what I needed to review.
Okay.
I think sometimes too with requesters, they make their request so broad that it almost, encourages them to narrow down what it is exactly that you're looking for. And that helps a ton.
We have had requests come in where people want every email from a certain person whose title includes research and they have the word research in their request file. And that takes hours and hours of scouring through every single piece of information to figure out if that's really what they need.
Yeah, and I think after talking with whoever it is requesting to get to the root, okay, what is it that you're looking for, right? Just having that conversation helps a bunch.
I'd just like to ask a question about this. I mean, I'm very supportive of the change, but are there other state entities that are this that have this provision? Are we the first to allow it? Are we the most? I just don't know. I'm not aware. And so maybe John or Victor, since you all are, I'm certainly making public records requests more than I am. Maybe that's something that you know. Do you know of any other entities that have made a change like this?
My experience, and then I'll listen to what Victor has to say, is that this is still evolving and people are still trying to figure it out. And there are still governments, for example, that say, oh no, you cannot do that. And then there are others that don't care at all. And they just really want you to go away. They want the request made and they're fine with it and they don't care. It is, in my opinion and based on my experience, it's still being formulated and there is no hard and fast. Some of us think there are clear instructions about what the law says, and some of us don't think it's clear. So that's my impression. What about you?
I think it's a mixed bag. City of Knoxville, Knox County do not charge, period. I mean, city never charged. Mayor Burchett advocated repeal of the charge, which the county commission agreed to. I'm not aware of any hardship. If someone walks in and says, I want a copy of every email that's been sent at the University of Tennessee for the last 5 years, you're gonna have to walk them back. I mean, that's not doable. Can't be done.
I'm not sure the law lets us say that though, does it?
But I think, but furthermore, if you walk in and say, I want a copy of X, well, no, I want to see X, not copy, then you have to provide it. You can't charge it. Or I want to come in and inspect this, I can do that free. It's only when I want to take a picture of it that the charge is. So it doesn't really stop the request.
To answer your question, so far as I can tell, this is the first time I've seen it sort of, if you will, codified in writing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just be interested, and that might be like a little research side project that one of us takes on sometime, but I'd love to look at all the state rules on records requests. So for various state departments, universities, because I'd love to be the first. I'd love to say that we're the first as a result of this group, but I just don't know. I don't know that we are. So, but if we could, I think that would be great.
Well, UT would be among the first, if not the first. I think you would get all sorts of kudos and compliments for this. I would advocate doing it if all of a sudden someone started to abuse it. You know, that's hypothetical. Then I think you have to step back and say, how do we deal with that? But that hadn't happened yet. And I mean, I think, you know, what's wrong with being the first when you're on the right side of history?
No, being the first is where we want to be.
Great, well, if everyone's comfortable with this change, then we'll go ahead and have
Does
that.
the board adopt it? Who actually does?
Oh, this is where I need Matthew.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Well, if it's a change in rule, I think the process, and yeah, don't quote me because this is definitely a Matthew question, but I think the process is it would go before, I think all rule changes go before they go before the board, but I'm not entirely sure. I know they go before GovOps. I mean, that's
right.
If it's a change in state rule, it'll eventually end up in my side of the ledger down here in Nashville. And so I know that'll happen, but.
I'm not entirely sure, but we could get this on the June board.
Which would be kind of the rule change the legislature would be happy to approve.
Right.
I would agree, but keep in mind that once you begin the discussion, the legislature could rewrite it.
Yeah,
that's correct.
They come up with a rewrite that may be different than what you have. That's.
But does law require here? Does it go to government?
Yeah, this is a rule change. It's got to go before the committee.
House and Senate government office.
Yeah, it's a government ops combined.
You have no choice to make a change.
Right. So if you all are comfortable with this, then we'll go ahead and send this forward and see if we'll let you know if that changes.
I think if you work this language and make the comment about being the first or among the first, I think you will deflect a whole lot of issues with just that approach.
They would be pleasantly stunned.
Well, it would also.
That's our goal. That's our goal.
That is our goal.
This would also appear to clarify, as I say, the murkiness that exists in the state right now about can I or can I not use this? Some people will say there's no difference, and some people will say, sorry, it's not in writing, so you can't.
In fact, my copy's not showing up very well. We added information about, yes, video recording devices. Yes, we added that in to make sure. Okay, fantastic. We will move that forward. Melissa, would you like to update us on Transparent UT Communications?
Yeah, so briefly on our transparency website, we have a mechanism on there where members of the community can give suggestions about what they want to see on the transparency website. We've got a number of recommendations just for this meeting today. But it's a simple button that members of the community can push and give their feedback. I would like to see X, Y, and Z. Leave their name and I think an email, is that right?
Yes.
Their suggestion of what they want to see on there. And so our department talked among ourselves about what the best way would be to communicate that. It's great to have it, but if nobody knows about it, then there's really no point. So every month we publish a column from the president on a variety of different topics. We've already issued, I believe, 2 already. So we thought that might be a great mechanism to distribute the information to our public. It's not only to our employees here, but externally across the state. So the plans are to make Randy's monthly column, which will be distributed on April the 1st, so next week, through the Tennessee Press Association. That's another area that we're going to sort of test to see if we can get more reach than through our own traditional media list. So we'll be working with TPA to get the column broadcast out to all of their various networks, and then we'll send it out on our side to our faculty and staff and all. So we think combining those 2 measures will help us get the word out pretty well.
We'll also share socially once the column's out as well.
Absolutely.
That's good. That's good.
Any other ideas of things we could be doing to let people know how they
What
can
are we missing?
provide some feedback?
You know, Carrie, it might be good to put in your newsletter that you do, the Advocacy Network newsletter. That might be a good idea.
Be happy to do it. So let's just get whipped up some language. Yep.
We'll have that for you for next week.
That's great.
To sending it out to the legislators as well.
We did. So Carrie, what do you think about us sending the information to the legislators separately? We could share the column.
Yeah.
What do you think about
so that would be my, I think if we're going to send it, let's bundle it with what is this, right? What have we been working on? And tell the story about how UT is becoming more transparent and how this initiative has kind of paved the way. And then here's how you get involved. I don't want to send a link and then people go, what is this? Right. So that would let's bundle it and package it and then we'll get it out.
We'll have it to you Monday. Okay, and then we have are there other things we need to be discussing as a group? Do you all feel like this is accomplishing what we need? Are there holes that we need to fill? I just want to make sure I'm not doing this in a vacuum and that the committee feels like their voices are heard and that we're getting everything that we need to accomplish done in this meeting. Or any questions about your role or how this needs to be working? Anything that I can answer?
Hey, Tiffany, this is Rachel in Chattanooga. I just had a question. I was wondering if it'd be possible to link like the UT advocacy website on the transparency page, or if there was a reason that it wasn't linked.
Absolutely, that's a quick add. We'll add it early next week. When I upload the minutes, I'll upload that too.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That was easy. Any other easy ones we can?
Hey,
great.
Tiffany,
Yes, Scott.
so what's your general feedback from the president and that sort of thing about some of these things that we are doing?
I think he's been really impressed with how this site has grown. When we first started talking about this in late November, we were just looking at things that we had received FOI requests about, things that we thought might be of importance to the public. But I think he's been very impressed with the ideas that have come out of this committee and the things that have been added. He actually went to the site not too long ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, and sent me a text and said, where did all that information come from? So I think he's been very, very surprised and very impressed with how that website has sort of grown over the past couple months.
I guess I was about, not to be resolved today maybe, but as just food for thought, that maybe there's value in some kind of at some point, a concentrated event or launch or bringing people in, say, from the TV stations and the newspaper and saying, hey, we want to introduce you to this. We've been working on it all along. Some kind of a way in a pretty one-on-one or aggressive way of saying, we want you to see this. This is valuable information for you and your viewers and your readers. It maybe it's grab the news directors or the editor or those folks and say, come here, you need to look at this.
I was just thinking about a video package.
Well, I was thinking about, is there any way we can piggyback off some programming through SPJ that would have large
That's a good idea.
groups of reporters already engaged? Maybe there's, I don't know, a lunch and learn. I mean, we can ask Jennifer because she's on that board. I know you're involved with it as well, but are there lunch and learns or?
Or the Tennessee Press Association.
Yeah.
In fact, Randy is speaking to them in June or July at their annual meeting in Chattanooga.
Well, he could certainly talk
So
about
we
this.
could put together something for him that sort of showcases this for him to like discuss and then have like a little video, something or a leave behind.
If I were a news director or somebody in an editorial position and you came to me and said, let me show you this. Did you know that coaches' contracts are on here? Or did you know that there's a salary database on here that affects 12,000 plus people? Did you know this? I bet they would go, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yes, sir.
As you do that, I would include the leadership with the legislature,
Okay.
the governor's office, as a part of that release. And I think the idea of doing it in a major event would be, I think, very good. But that would require the leadership to read into it, study it, and then you're going to have some buy-in that may deal with some issues future in the legislature.
I think Gary's right on point. Make sure you include the leadership of both parties.
Yes.
But, I mean, President Boyd has done a good job, like the chancellor issue on diversity. He took what used to create a firestorm and it barely had a whimper of noise. It was a welcome relief. And he did it, frankly, by touching it. Probably made 30 phone calls, but they paid off. And communication with the legislature is very important. A legislator who doesn't know about it until he reads about it is not necessarily happy. One who feels like he's been included on the front end, given the pros, the cons, why you reached a certain decision, there's buy-in. And it pays dividends. And, the whole issue on the diversity thing, I mean, it just wasn't much of an issue compared to what we all knew about a few years ago, which wasn't very pleasant. And so, you're doing something right. Take advantage of it. Milk it for all it's
Here,
worth.
yes. That's reflect. Actually, I'll come back and refresh the webcast as I write the minutes. My notes are all over the place now. Okay, that's a great idea. We'll work on something for that.
It is worth beating your chest about.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Frankly, what's going to happen is once you all do it, other universities are going to have to get on board.
I think it's going to force them.
They'll be copying your lead.
And you're going to see other public boards pick up on it as well.
Right.
Utility boards, and the list goes on and on and on. You're going to begin to see, and whoever the outliers are ultimately that don't want to do it, the legislature will get in the middle of it at that point.
Say, why would you want to do it?
That's right.
That's a really good point.
We've already touched on this, but if you could say, well, UT is doing this. Like, oh, well.
Great. Anything else this group would like to discuss before we wrap up today?
Good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'll be in touch with our next meeting this summer.
And back, you have an idea as to when you make ballpark month?